and welcome to Lyfebulb Live. I'm actually really excited about this conversation. I know I always say that, but I'm really excited to have this ambassador with me to talk about how you add holistic treatment into your plan, your treatment plan. So, Rennie, thank you so much for joining me today. It's just so
Thank you
lovely
for
to have
having
you
me. I'm
here.
so happy to talk about this topic. I don't think enough people realize that there are options out there.
I
And so I'm
totally
really
agree.
excited to share it.
Me too. Can you just tell everybody just a little bit about yourself, your diagnosis, and, Cliff Notes?
So I have been living with MS I've been living with it really since the 90s, but I was diagnosed in 2003. And since being diagnosed with MS, I also am a breast cancer survivor and a diabetic. So, so I do have my share of issues, but I handle them all. And I never just take a doctor's word for anything before I do plenty of research. I have my master's degree in instructional technology for library media for schools. And so I spent a lot of time learning about how to find credible sources, what are reliable sources are, what aren't. And so when I am looking for information, I read medical journals, I read scholarly articles, and I don't just trust what a doctor says. Like I need to fully understand what they're giving me, why they're giving it to me, and
Hmm.
what's the difference if I didn't have it.
Right.
So like for example with the breast cancer, so right now the protocol is for my age group. When I had it, like I was diagnosed with breast cancer at age it was 4 years ago, 44. And the protocol at that time was that patients who were premenopausal would be, after you finish all of your treatment, then you take this drug called tamoxifen. And
Hmm.
now they're saying it's a 10 years, take it for 10 years.
Right.
It causes horrible side effects. And like they were all about data with everything. And then when I was like, well, can you tell me, since so many of the side effects are the same as MS symptoms, tell me how MS patients fare. Like you have all this data, you're always telling me about data. And then they would be like, well, I could tell you anecdotally. And I'm like, wait, well, all of a sudden you don't have data, you have anecdotes, but that's not what I'm going to make my decision on.
Right.
And so I was pressured. I was pressured a lot. And the more I read about it and the more I studied up on it. Oh, and I also usually go to clinicaltrials.gov because you can find a lot of information
Yeah,
there.
they're great.
So that's the other source that I use a lot when I'm trying to figure out what's going to benefit me or not.
Right.
So I was like, you expect me to put this in my, like, if you can't even tell me how an MS patient responds to this and you expect me to put it into my body? And then you read the label and it's like, oh, you can get, it can give you secondary cancer in the, I can't remember, is it uterine cancer? Yeah. And then all these side effects that are like what I deal with every day with MS. And I'm like, I can't deal with more.
Right. And so for those watching that don't remember, I also am a breast cancer survivor and I also have MS. So we connect on a lot of this. And I also want to preface, nobody here is telling you to stop taking your medication and nobody here
Never.
is telling you to treat it just holistically. The point of this conversation is how you can add. First of all, I love the fact that you were saying when you, and I also know you, so it's not that she doesn't trust her doctors. She wants to be educated in what she is, her treatment plan, her medication, her scans, whatever it is, just to be educated. And that's really important. We have to take ownership in our own health. And now, of course, I forgot what the heck I was going to say because MS and
Because
cancer
MS.
leave you
Yeah.
brain. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is how we can try different things to thrive through our diagnosis. And sometimes that is, you know, taking more vitamins and making sure you're balanced with your vitamins and minerals. And as far as side effects of medication goes, when you're diagnosed with one illness and then you have another illness on top of that, sometimes those side effects that you get from medication exasperate the symptoms that you have from different illnesses. And you have to find a way to balance that. And
Exactly.
honestly, a great way to do that is through holistic, complementary, as my cancer center calls it, complementary therapy. It complements the therapy you're going through, and to see if it works for you. We
Yeah.
all have different chemical makeup, right? So
Right.
I always do this on StreamYard. You're this way, not that way.
Yeah, I know. It's so weird.
So confusing.
I keep on looking at you, but I'm going the other
No,
way.
I do the same thing. Your chemical makeup is completely different than mine. So the best way that we can learn how to do these things is to go through it and try them out. And I
Yeah.
believe our CEO is going to join us for a little bit. So I'm going to bring in Karin.
Okay.
Hi there, Karin. How are
Hi,
you?
I'm so sorry I'm late. It's
How
been,
are
Oh, that
you?
is
been a
totally
hectic day
okay.
here.
I heard that, and I was unsure if you were able to attend. So we were going about it with, just going about it. So we're
Of course
just
I'm going to join. I wouldn't miss Rennie because I'm looking forward to the breathing.
Oh,
yes. Oh, we want to do a little breathing at the end, but I'm
okay.
actually glad you jumped in at this exact moment because I was just
I
telling.
need the breathing now.
She does need the breathing now. I was just telling Rennie about the very first Lyfebulb event I ever attended, and that was on cancer. And Dr. Robert
Yeah.
Thomas was there. And I just remember sitting there and being enamored with listening to him. And his philosophy was, before he treats a patient, he checks their vitamins and minerals and balances them in all of that before he adds real treatment, modern medicine treatment to it. And he saw such great results. And he prefaced it by saying, I didn't cure anybody's cancer. The woman that he was talking about had pancreatic cancer. He didn't cure her of stage 4 pancreatic cancer, but her tumors shrunk incredibly more and she felt better through treatment. That is an enormous win for anybody diagnosed with anything.
Well, I think I'm not sure he said that the tumor shrunk very much more, but I know that he said she felt much better through the treatment.
Yeah.
The only reason why I can quote that is because I had a long conversation with him afterwards, and he did attribute.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's good. I'm totally. I believe very strongly that if you can correct your general metabolic status, and that includes your vitamin levels, your minerals, your all your essentially your levels in your body that make you function the way you should function, it will make you much stronger. And going through any chronic disease, and especially treatment, immune suppressive treatment or immune modulation, or whatever it is, you need to be strong. You need to be able to handle it. And that's what I think holistic medicine does, is that that includes your mental health as well. Mm-hmm. And it includes your metabolic status, but it also would be exercise, and it would be diet. But I think that diet per se, or vitamins per se, if you don't use really, really high amounts, will not be therapeutic. And that's a difference between being therapeutic and essentially correcting levels so that you can be stronger and resist very strong treatment effects that will lead to complications.
Yeah.
And to your point, Karin, I want to preface by saying he felt as though the tumor shrunk because she was feeling better, and
she could handle the
treatment.
Exactly.
So I'm sorry, I should have worded it in a better way. But
the total effect is the most important, right? The outcome is what we're looking for, and whatever gets us there is important.
It's funny that you brought up the exercise and the diet thing, because we were talking about that before we went live. And I was saying how when I first started working with the integrative, he calls it integrative. It's the same as complementary.
Yeah.
Because he's an integrative oncologist. He's in Portland, Oregon. And he has patients that he does prescribe the medicine, the tamoxifen for. However, he did not think, after he went through my entire medical history and all the pathology from my tumors, that I needed it. And it would only increase my survival rate by 1%. So he came up with this whole regimen of vitamins and supplements, when to take them, how many times a day, and whatever. And he said, and to continue with my meditation, because I meditate. I'm a very avid meditator. I do it every single day, twice a day at least. And yoga, keep the healthy lifestyle and add these things in. And, I feel great. I'm 4 years since I finished treatment. Everything, they won't ever tell me that I'm cancer free because I'm not following the protocol.
Mhm.
But as long as I go and they say that everything looks good to me, that's cancer free, because
Yeah.
they're not going to use those words for me. You know,
I actually use cancer free as a mental state. Like I always say, when I have those cancer free moments where you just feel free of any illness, and I use it for MS too. It's those moments where you just feel really good and you're not really thinking about your illness and you're just going about your day. And afterwards you're like, wow, I had a good day today. Like that makes you feel so free.
yeah,
But isn't that interesting that, and it's not surprising, right? It's not surprising that all we really want is to feel normal, and whatever is
Yes.
normal, meaning that we don't have to think about our diseases.
Yeah.
Yet, all three of us are focusing in our lives, on our diseases in some way, where we're educating,
That's
we're raising
so true.
awareness, we're trying to find solutions. So we're dedicating our lives to focusing on our own diseases.
yeah.
So we're masochists, or I'm not
Yeah.
sure what, but
It is
in a
true.
good way.
interesting.
But in a good way, because we're doing it so that we can help other people. So
Right.
it's a little bit different than just being a masochist. But it's always I don't ever feel like I don't have MS. Like I
But
just
I
don't.
think the difference is that, when you're in the beginning of your disease, you are, a silent member, perhaps, of a community.
Of
You
course.
are a listener.
sure.
You are a learner. You're really trying to accumulate facts and learn. I mean, that's
Mhm.
at least I think a majority of people. And then you start talking and questioning and interacting, and then you reach a stage where you feel like you're more of a mentor and you can give
Yeah.
back. And I think at that point, you have taken some control of your disease. And then it's okay to sometimes think about it, because you're in control of what you're thinking about and you're mastering it to a certain extent. You can never fully master it, because if you could, then you would cure it.
Well, it
Right.
alters so much too.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
my some days I can't even believe the pain, and I don't understand where it came from, or the pins and needles are, it changes for me rapidly sometimes. But I use therapy holistically as a way to do exactly what you just said, Karin, to kind of get myself through it, because
Mhm.
we were talking about before how we take these medication, and sometimes the medication exasperates the
Yeah.
symptoms that we have, and we have to find a way to balance those.
Or
And
at
I don't
least it creates new symptoms.
exactly,
You
or
hope that the
that's
therapy
exactly
doesn't
true. We didn't even say
exasperate.
that part of it.
Yeah.
It creates new
that's true.
symptoms.
Like you need more.
Right.
We don't need more symptoms of anything. We got plenty.
No,
No.
I mean, it's interesting. For me with my transplants, the drugs that I'm taking that are intended to prevent rejection of the transplants have led to an additional 7 drugs. So the 2 drugs that prevent the transplants are now requiring 9 drugs because of the consequences of those 2 drugs. So, and if I were to also try to correct holistically, I think it would be probably another 4 or 5 drugs.
Right.
But all that is just to try to feel better, right? We do what we can
Right.
to feel better, and whatever we can to take control of our situation. I think that's important.
Exactly. Especially like we don't know how many days we have on this planet, and we want to make the best out of every single one. I don't want to waste them feeling bad, feeling ill, not being able to get out of bed,
Right.
And so on those tough days, I force myself to do what I have to do, and I allow myself to rest, and that was something really hard to learn too, that the body, sometimes rest is as important as the rest of it. I'm not a good sleeper. In the MS world, we use a phrase called painsomnia, and that is true. It is real. And like, I have a tracker that I wear that tracks my sleep. And I seriously, I sleep maybe 5 hours, but not all at once at night. So I am already if you're using the spoon theory or the charged battery theory, I start the day at 50%,
Yeah.
Right.
So it just takes.
It's so funny you say that. I just checked my tracker today, and I slept for an hour and 55 minutes last night. That was my sleep, an hour and 55 minutes. And that is part of it. I mean, if you don't find a way to rest, your body will tell you when it's time to rest.
Exactly.
I am curious about something, because I was lucky that my center did have complementary integrative therapy. I was given Reiki, cupping, acupuncture, massage therapy, all of it. Karin, at any of the places that you have gone to, is that been part of, like, did they suggest it to you? Interesting.
For me, never. Even worse is that I remember being in the hospital for a long time because I had sepsis. I was very sick,
God.
and I asked my physicians. I said, well, I developed sepsis because I ate the wrong thing. It was salmonella, and then it developed into sepsis, and it was because of poorly prepared food. And I said, maybe I need some education on what is proper food for me as a transplant recipient. I'm a medical doctor, but I haven't trained in nutrition. I'd love to get, and they go, you don't need it. They can't teach you anything you don't know. So it was more than maybe the fact that they don't offer it, they discourage it. But wow. I wouldn't say. I think the places I've been are incredibly good. From a medical perspective, and I have a highest respect for my physicians. It's just that, the more, in my experience, many of the more specialized physicians who are treating very serious diseases, they believe that anything that is holistic is just noise, and it doesn't really affect the person in any major degree. So they don't really want to mess with it. They just think it's actually more risk than it adds. And
you just described my first oncologist.
I felt the same way.
That's
many doctors have made me feel that way too, where it was only like, we're talking about traditional medicine here. You have to stick to the protocol, and that's just not me. If I don't feel right about it, I'm not going to do it. I want to make sure that I feel well. I want to make sure that I'm not introducing something that to me reads like poison on the bottle. I want to feel good. I don't want to take any chances with that. And so, and I agree. Like I've done, like, in non-COVID times, Reiki and acupuncture and chiropractor, and my acupuncturist also does cupping. Those are the things that are usually a part of my weekly self-care routine in non-COVID times. So, I think all of this stuff combined, meditation and a healthy lifestyle and happiness, just smiling. I mean, there are little things that can just uplift you in like a second flat,
Yeah, to me, like, it's been trampoline jumping. I am
that's so
extremely excited about trampoline jumping. It makes me so happy. It is one of the the toughest aerobic exercises I've ever done. It also requires coordination and balance and core strength. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited about it because it's nice when you do something where you also see effects, right? Yes. So if you do meditation and you're able to focus for a longer period of time every time, that's a good thing because you see that progress. If you do something that gives you more sleep, sleep, and if we want to get back to that, I think that's one of the core ways of getting better. And it's interesting when you look at people who are very successful in life, they're often able to fall asleep very quickly and get that energy. So I think being
so jealous of those people.
Training how to sleep is almost as important as training your nutrition or training how to do exercise. I think sleep has been undervalued by holistic medicine, for a long time.
Well, they say that when you're sleeping, that's when your body can remyelinate.
Yeah.
And that's a huge thing for us with MS. And I just don't ever get like the REM sleep. I get like maybe 12 minutes a night, if any.
No, and I have tried every medication out there, and they just don't work for me. Ambien gives me terrible, terrible nightmares. There's
I don't believe in.
And I have nightmares
sleeping
to begin
pills
with.
Is not the right sleep. Whatever that gives you is not.
That is why.
That's why the other
sleeping is really why my doctor pushed me to medical marijuana, is for that reason, because she's like, even if you could get 4 hours, and it does help with my nausea, because I have some of my pain meds, or not my pain meds, my medication makes me extremely nauseous if I don't take it with enough food or enough, I hadn't had enough hydration, whatever it is, it just messes with me. And
Yeah.
it did amaze me, Karin, to what you were saying before about doctors not wanting to bring that in. And I was saying earlier before we went live, I'm very open with my doctors. They know everything. And I had a breakdown before my cancer diagnosis. So everything was right there. And my doctors had no problem giving me pain meds, knowing that I was a recovering addict. And that is an issue. Like we have to find other ways to help people through their pain besides giving them another pill like that. I mean, we really, really do, because some people aren't going to be that honest, right? And they're going to take it and they're stressed out anyways. And it really can make the whole situation much worse. And I don't just mean it's about cannabis. It's about everything we're talking about. You were talking about trampoline. I went to an amazing doctor. That is how I got rid of my lymphedema, is by jumping on a trampoline. I bought a little one for the house. She's like 15 minutes a day. That's all you need. I barely have it anymore from jumping on the trampoline.
Karin, I can see you
Look
like
at
on a big one with the cover over it doing.
Oh yeah, no. I'm getting into it. Like seriously, I really, really like it. I think it gives me energy. It gives me happiness. As you said, smiling. I think smiling is one of the most important thing, most therapeutic. If you can smile more and you can be around people who actually bring you joy, and then you forget. I mean, I've had a real tough day today, and I'm in this meeting right now. I feel like I'm in it, and it's great. It's energizing, and trying to get to those moments where you're in the now and you're really like enjoying the time and learning and sharing. I think it's what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah,
100%.
And
I couldn't agree that more.
hate
And
that
I will say
doctors lead us in the wrong direction. They want us to be, and it's such a mess because, big pharma has this mighty fist that it rules with. And I get that in a way, but in other ways, not so much. And I would much rather take either, some tincture or some form of cannabis to help me sleep, to keep my legs from spasming, which is what it does. It relieves spasticity, it relieves stiffness, it relieves joint pain, hip pain, all the pain that you feel when you're up with painsomnia. and it's not like I sit home all day and smoke weed. I don't.
That's not what it's about.
Part of my treatment plan, and it is a medication, and it is taken at a certain time of the day, and that's how it is. It's the same as any other part of my treatment plan for any of my conditions. It's just that.
Well, I think it doesn't have to be either or. I think it's a combination. I think
exactly.
I could not replace my anti-rejection medications. I'm very grateful to Big Pharma for having developed those and spending the money doing that, because taking those risks, doing those clinical trials with thousands and thousands of patients over years, you don't just go in about and do that without having invested capital and taking risks. So I'm grateful to it. And I think the scientists and the people who bring forward products should be rewarded more highly. Right now it's a lot about the people who bring the product to market and market the product versus those who originate them. But I think in biotechnology and in discovery, we see heroes now. I mean, think about Moderna and BioNTech. The scientists that brought forward the COVID vaccines. There's even a Barbie doll now of the COVID vaccine lady.
Oh, that's funny.
So I think that's wonderful, where we're seeing heroes that really make an impact.
You can't discount the patients who enter, I did it, who enter clinical trials to help bring more products to market. I spent 2 years in a double-blind, placebo-oriented clinical trial that brought an MS medication to market. And it was a risk I took. I didn't know if I was going to be off treatment for 2 years or not. It was scary, but I was younger and I was out of options, because back then there were only 4 all injectable, and I had failed them all. So I didn't really have a choice except for to find somehow, some way where I could treat that could hopefully slow the progression of my MS. And so I did it. And luckily, I was on the product for the whole time. I knew I was, because my liver enzymes were shooting up in places. My absolute lymphocytes were all over the place. I mean, I knew, but like I didn't know because they couldn't tell me. They wouldn't till the end when we were unblinded when it came to working. So.
Right. My silly dog keeps barking, so excuse the dog. But I wanted to point something out about Lyfebulb that I have learned through being part of this amazing team is our workshops. I've learned so much about the different companies that we have partnered with. They want to hear what we have, what we're missing from our whole perspective, different things that we've gone through, what's missing from our daily routine, what do we need? And I can say this every time I talk about Lyfebulb. It is not about a cure. It's not about slapping another pill on us. It's about finding an innovation, a solution, something to help us thrive through our diagnosis. And we have seen it all happen in all of our innovation challenges and through the workshops. And to me, that is about holistic too. I'm not, when we're talking about this, it's not just about cannabis and Reiki and all of that. It's about the Grit Freedom Chair that changed my girlfriend's life who has MS, and now she can go for hikes with her husband. That is holistic treatment to me. And every time I say it, I almost start to cry. She's my childhood friend. She won the chair. It changed her life. That chair changed her life. And you know how she found it? Is through Lyfebulb's Innovation Challenge.
That's
that
amazing.
To me is a huge win. Huge.
Oh, that makes my heart so happy.
That's beautiful. That's really what it should be about. Yeah.
That's exactly what it's about. And it is about finding those great solutions that can help us through this diagnosis. And I did have a different perspective on other companies that, before I came into Lyfebulb, and it completely changed with every workshop and every challenge. Watching them listen to everyone's stories, like they want to learn how they can help us. Again, not another pill. It's a solution. And that is really what this whole conversation is about, because it's not just about us taking another medication. It's about us finding ways that we can thrive through our diagnosis.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you guys for being part of this chat. I love this group. I love our community. Rennie, I cannot thank you enough for everything you're doing. Before we go, I think we need to do maybe a couple minutes of some breathing, if you would be ever so kind.
Oh, I'd love to.
This is, an amazing thing. I know a lot of us work at our desks. We're home. We're homeschooling our kids and all of that stuff. Taking just a couple minutes and doing some breathing from our dear Rennie. And I'm just going to end it right after that. I'm not going to say goodbye or anything, because we're going to be in a nice, peaceful state. So I'll just end our conversation after that. So take it away, Rennie.
You're going to want to bask in like the calmness that comes.
You got it. That's exactly what I want to do. So you take it away.
So just sit up nice and tall. You can lean back on the chair if you want to. You don't have to. You can just sit with the tall spine. You can keep your eyes open or soften your gaze. And we're just going to do controlled breathing. So we're going to inhale to 4 and then exhale to 8. And I find that this kind of breathing is really helpful, because it's by controlling your breath, you understand that you can control your life, by just asserting asserting yourself in some way. And it's very, it's uplifting to know that and to feel it. So we're just going to inhale. You're going to inhale through your nose and exhale through your nose. But if you can't, if you're stuffed or whatever, you can use your exhale out of your mouth or whatever you have to do. So we're going to, ready? Just sit nice and calm. First, just take a nice deep breath in through the nose. And a regular exhale out of the nose. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale normally. Exhale normally. Inhale. Exhale. And you can continue to do it on your own. It's something that if people have trouble meditating, this is the kind of breath that I suggest to them, because it keeps your mind from thinking about other things because you're counting it in your head. So it's a really great way to start meditating if somebody's never tried it before. I had a former student who had a cancer scare, and she reached out to me. And so I taught her this method, and it helped her so much to get through that time because her mind was just racing. She didn't know what to do or how to fix it. And she couldn't fix it, but she could control this part of her mind, you know. And it's nice to know that you can control something when everything else seems so out of control the things that you can. So I hope you enjoyed it.
I did. I really enjoyed it. Thank you, Rennie.
Beautiful. Thank you, Rennie.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. And thank you for letting me be an ambassador. I love it.
Thank you.